Well, because I would think the protocol, if you came up with a base protocol that says, this is the base protocol, do it. And if there are still problems, there are 7 things you need to look at.
Sure.
Yeah.
No one's done that.
No,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. No, but I'm doing it even different. If we actually would review this information, the 5 causes that we have at the beginning, they're very simple.
Yeah.
All I'm suggesting is a $35 test. And the rest you can really do by looking, sniffing around, getting a mold culture, getting the history of your home. Yes, we had a leak in the roof. If you're actually spanning your awareness just a little bit wider and cast it in, you're already eliminating 90% of all the bad stuff that other people, like Amy, need months of testing and.
But you see, like, that's what I'm talking about as the base protocol. You have the base, and then these other things you're mentioning. It's just a matter now of formalizing it as.
Yeah. Well, then I will do that. To kind of streamline down. Like, here's these things, and you have to clean that up because if you don't stop the exposure, and none of the people, Utar or Amy, are really looking at that. They're looking at what happens afterwards and how to fix it.
But not only that,
and so it's like
you said
we need to have that part in there.
Pause 1 second. I really want to get this in. One thing that I feel like even here that we're doing, we're really covering a lot of different things, but I still see, even in the model we've discussed, that whole energetic burden that's handled by just the tapping technique. We could have this exact protocol, all of this stuff hashed out perfectly, and something as simple as the tapping technique being absent versus present could be the break in the chain that doesn't provide success.
But let's go back.
Or does provide success.
Or does provide success when it's there, correct?
But I'm not saying leave out tapping.
No, I'm not either, but I'm just
you
saying.
Start with the base.
Right. But that would absolutely be part of the base.
Say 300 to 400 times. Don't forget the primary thing.
And I think my point is when I drew this whole total body burden thing out, and I tried to draw in my head what really happened to these kids. How did it really play out? It starts with the energetic burden. It starts with a cell that would normally be functioning all perfect, and instead has a little dent in it or a little divot. And then because of that little energetic sidewaysness, it's got a little more pathogen. And then with the pathogen comes the metal, and it's just this build. So ignoring, when you say make sure we see the cause, which is the neurotoxin, but the neurotoxin is only there because of this energetic divot.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's like, really, I want all the mothers, sort of to start out there, look at sort of on the biochemical level, what are your exposures, and none of the moms are aware of the multitude of these things. None of the ones that I talk to, sort of, they can't even hear me, when I talk household cleaning products, if somebody comes over them, they can't even hear it, and yet the kids that have gotten well so easy with autism, those were the moms that did those things. They just kind of went through the house, and I used to go to homes, people, clean out the fridge, clean out the cleaning cabinets, and haul away a truck of toxic materials, and with a list of instructions. I don't do that anymore, but that's a step that is so important and is so missing, in the education of these moms. And we have to start with stop the exposures. And outside of that is the family field, the psyche with the trauma, the unresolved issues. The immigration issues, where does your family come from, what is unhealed in the ancestry, my work with that. And it's beautiful how that resolves so many issues. Suddenly kids don't need the amino acids anymore, they don't need the B vitamins anymore, they don't need this anymore, because there was something in the field that was kind of holding the cells down from self-repairing.
And how I make that tangible is I envision this cell with the dent in it, with all this stuff we got to handle. And when you're able to energetically, which is the base of all of it, go in and have that energy say, I don't want that dent anymore, the rest of it falls away.
Yeah.
That's not how it always happens, but it's at the basis and the foundation. And the tapping technique, the reason why I always go to the tapping technique is because it seems like such a simple tool that even if you don't buy into any of this energetic stuff, if you just do the tapping technique, you can cover that
we
base.
get to that in the natural flow. I wanted to sort of now kind of go rapidly through the detox agents. So we have agents that move stuff. We have a perfect agent that moves stuff from the outside of the cell out of the body with the DMPS. It's not tolerated by everybody.
I know. I just want to keep something fluid with the Yasko Buttar thing, because the other thing that's wildfire on the internet is the whole EDTA, DMPS. Oh, you can't use them together because we talked last night. You see no contraindication between using TD DMPS and the Yasko protocol of EDTA in the bathtub, basically absorbing the toxins out of your skin and out of the tub, and the oral EDTA, which is basically going to absorb that first layer of toxins in the gastrointestinal. No contraindication there.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so now go ahead.
Absolutely not. No, it's just they're very different mechanisms. You're using the EDTA in Yasko's protocol as an ion exchange resin. You place an EDTA on the inside of the gut wall, and it will extract out of the blood that circulates through there toxic material. But the EDTA will not enter that way. It enters less than 5% of the EDTA orally actually enter the bloodstream and then interact with the toxins there and get them out.
Okay.
The EDTA, from what we know so far, that you put on the skin simply works as an ion exchange resin. Means it sucks toxins up from the skin, but it doesn't enter it.
Okay.
The DMPS, when I put it on the skin, enters the nerves, travels inside the nerves into the brain, and actually has in that way also a moderate intracellular detoxification effect. You know? So just to make that clear, like when I talked before, I talked in DMPS in general is usually given orally or IV, has no intracellular effect whatsoever. But by putting it on the skin, you get a small amount of absorption inside the nerves. You also get lymphatic absorption and blood vessel absorption. That has the same effect as if you take it orally.
Right.
But you have some absorption in the neurons, and once it's in the neurons, of course the detox is then inside the cells, and therefore it's a brilliant approach.
Okay.
However, what the body naturally uses inside the cells is glutathione, not DMPS, and so we're having a mixed deal here. It would be better to do the intracellular detox with transdermal glutathione,
Or nebulized.
and then use DMPS in whatever form to move the mobilized stuff away from there.
Including, in that case, would you also put the DMPS on the skin?
Well, I think it's a more elegant way of doing it.
Yeah.
I personally also like the oral DMPS pills, which I think is a very viable alternative that has not been used enough. Yeah,
But it's not.
and it is very difficult to fix that once that the damage is done. So DMSA has been used loosely and widely in the USA. I'm against that. I love Dr. Buttar for having introduced the transdermal DMPS, so I don't want to say any more about that. There is certainly a place for N-acetylcysteine,
NAC.
NAC, as an injectable. It's a very powerful detoxification agent that works intracellularly also,
And when you say injectable, you mean IV usually.
IV, intravenously. Yeah.
But we were talking at lunch yesterday about the Neubrander approach of doing the subcutaneous folinic acid, methyl B12, and
Yeah.
NAC, and you liked that.
Yeah, but there's not so well. The NAC part is of course aimed at the metals, but the other one is
Okay.
also that you're also intracellularly deficient with the methyl donors and other things that the cell needs because the enzymes have been destroyed by the mercury presence.
Right.
You can either wait until the detox restores the body so it can fix itself, or you can give the body a hand and speed up the fixing itself by doing those extra things. I just want to go through the list of the more classic
Okay.
things. So these were just the things that we had so far that are in general considered injectables. And the two main oral agents, or three, is oral EDTA or rectal EDTA, oral DMPS, and oral DMSA, which with the protocol that we are aiming at to have no major role. Yeah, just to be clear on that. And then the other oral agents are the herbal plant-derived things and vitamin type things. In general, it's the branched chain amino acids, valine, leucine, and isoleucine, and then cysteine. Those four are considered the big detoxifiers, and by pushing the system to have more of those as an intake will mobilize metals quite nicely. Now, this is mobilized, moving it from the inside of the cell to the outside of the cell.
Now, Dr. Yasko would have concerns about the cysteine based on the excitotoxic
Yeah, of course.
cousin nature.
Yeah,
of it.
and I'm not saying I'm not saying that we should do that. It should be, a part of an amino acid protocol. If we go that way.
Okay.
But again, with using TDDMPS as our main strategy, we don't have to use it anymore. We don't have to give any of these things extra. What I like personally are the plant adaptogens. Plants are very unique in the ability to detoxify. Most significant research so far has been on cilantro that shows that it has an incredible neuroprotective effect when ongoing exposures are there. So, for example, if we have a child that's still in the womb of the mom and the mom has amalgam fillings, it's a very good idea to feed mom a lot of cilantro because it protects the fetus from the damage from the mercury that's released from this. The cilantro has been shown to be very, very effective in detoxing aluminum, lead, and mercury from inside the cells. So it covers the hundreds of plant compounds that are in it, cover the entire way from inside the cell all the way out of the body.
Okay.
And your recommendation is eating cilantro or rubbing it?
Well, if a person is old enough to eat it, it's the best way to take it.
As a food additive.
Yeah, it's best to take it in miso soup. Miso has all the synergistic amino acids that complement it. So it's miso soup with cilantro, standard of the Chinese and Japanese diet, and they live an average of 8 years longer than we do. That may be just one part of it.
And they eat a ton of fish.
But so do Americans. There's not that much difference with that.
If they don't take it orally, how do you do cilantro?
Topical.
Transdermally.
I mean, you can buy a liquid cilantro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tincture. It's just an alcoholic tincture that's available. We use BioPure. It's the best. It's the best one.
BioPure is the name.
And then the other big nutritional compound is chlorella. Chlorella is an algae that has, first of all, the cell membrane that can bind large amounts of toxic metals. So we use it as a binding agent for stuff that's mobilized and gets in the gut to bind it there so it doesn't get reabsorbed. But then it has, beyond that, it has 22 so far identified mechanisms by which it detoxes intracellularly, extracellularly, nerve cells, liver cells, and so forth. Trouble with the chlorella is that it's poorly absorbed, and depending on the patient's digestion, some people cannot break open the contact to get to the detox enzymes that are in there. And in Europe, especially in Switzerland, a book is written on this. Physicians have used just chlorella and cilantro for their autistic kids with very, very high success rates. But they have to give an appropriate 120, 140 tablets of chlorella a day. Now, by comparison, it's still very, very inexpensive.
How can a kid take 140 tablets a day?
Well, if a kid can eat, and some of them love chewing the tablets.
My son doesn't always like them, but whenever he's sort of whacked out and toxic for whatever reason, he'll totally eat them.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But like on a good day,
Oh, you chew them?
he'll chew them.
Dogs
Why
and,
don't you crush them up and put them in apple juice or something?
You could do that too. There's all kinds of ways.
dogs and cats love it.
Really?
I mean, if you give them food with chlorella and without chlorella, they always take the one with chlorella, and they have still intact noses. Now, there's different types of chlorella. It's a very product-sensitive issue. Many of chlorellas have a hard cell wall that can't be absorbed at all. Some of them are toxic already when they come in, and so we use a type of chlorella. It's called a CGF chlorella. It's a combination of chlorella and chlorella growth factor, which is fantastic for this purpose.